What's going on, my Cardano friends? It's your friend Jack here in the freaking basement. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Liqwid Finance, a DeFi protocol on Cardano. And I'm also going to be going over the 4x yield, how that's possible. How the heck do you get 4x yield, right? And I'm also going to be talking about why this is a very good project and why I'm pretty bullish on it in general. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Just before I get into the video, if you want to earn some passive ADA in the time being before you get that 4x yield, and also maybe while you're getting that 4x yield, please consider staking with the Jack stake pool, ticker symbol JACK. But the first thing I want to go to is the Liqwid Finance website. I'll leave this link down in the description just to cover their kind of slogan, their mission statement. And what that is Liqwid is an open source algorithmic and non-custodial interest rate protocol built for lenders, borrowers, and developers. Yep, even developers on Cardano. And we all know that the more tools are for developers, the better. Users can securely earn interest on deposits and borrow assets with some ease while earning yield on ADA from our yield streams. So we're going to go over those yield streams in a second here, but we're going to go over their roadmap quick, their team, their tokenomics, and briefly just show you that they do have a white paper. We're not going to go over everything in the white paper. And I also want to very much highlight the 4x yield and how that's possible and how that can be done coming up in the next quarter of 2022. So not the next one, but the first one. And we're going to be able to see that nice DeFi application be launched hopefully then. Just before getting into the video though, if you do want to stake your ADA right now, you can do so with the Jack stake pool to get passive ADA on your ADA. Pretty nice. First thing though I want to go over is the mission statement of Liqwid Finance. And that is that they are an open source, algorithmic, and non-custodial interest rate protocol built for lenders, borrowers, and developers. And I think we all know that the more tools and applications that developers have access to, the more the ecosystem is going to expand and grow in general, which is just good for Cardano and good for everyone involved. So that's pretty awesome. Users on Liqwid Finance can securely earn interest on deposits and borrow assets with ease while earning yield on ADA from our yield streams. I'm going to go over the 4x yield stream in a second here, but I'm also going to go over the roadmap, some of the features, and also the tokenomics, then the team, and then briefly the white paper. We're not really going to go over the white paper, just to show you what it's all about, and then that'll wrap up the video. But most importantly, let's get into the roadmap and what is coming next and what's been done so far. So you can see here, you can't launch the app yet, launch soon. They have been updating us on this in their Discord, which you can't join right now because they're actually using some of their tokenomics to reward the early holders. Something to note about Liqwid is that they're not VC funded. They have no ISOs, and they're pretty much bootstrapped with Catalyst funds from the Cardano, the Cardano DAO, pretty much. The Catalyst section where people vote to fund projects, that's pretty much their only funding, and some grant fundraising. So they've done that in the first quarter of 2021. They've continued that all the way up to now, and you could see that we are in the fourth quarter of 2021, and what they've done so far is a lot, right? They have a lot of the hard groundwork done, and it's very impressive to see how much they have done pre-smart contracts. Before anything was even done, they have been building in advance for quite some time now, and they've been here on Cardano, sticking to Cardano for also quite some time now, which makes me even feel better about this. We're going to go over the team in a sec here too, which I think is pretty awesome, and I really do like the team. But I also want to highlight the fact that right now we're in Q4, and you can see here we have a mainnet launch scheduled. Now, I don't know if this is going to be happening. We are going to be getting a testnet publicly, hopefully, to test out some of the smart contracts and kind of test out the DeFi section of this protocol. But if not, I'm fine with waiting until the first quarter of 2022 for it. I still want to cover this, and I still think it is very important. I also want to highlight that pretty much nothing has launched yet on mainnet of Cardano, so Liqwid is not the only exception that who's running behind, because really there's a lot of things that are running behind, but to be honest, it's not a big deal. And I really do think that a lot of the fundamentals that this protocol is built on are set up for success, even if it is delayed by a month or two. Something also to highlight in the roadmap is they have an internal security audit and an external security audit to really make sure that your funds aren't going to be in smart contracts that are malicious or that can be exploited. That is very important that they're having 2 audits. And honestly, if any DeFi protocol doesn't have a couple audits, it's a bit fishy, and you should probably be careful going forward with other DeFi protocols and all these things that are going to be popping up here and there. So please be careful. You can see they also have planned a DAO and community governance with their LQ token, I believe. And then they also have coming in Q1 2022 a secondary product offering, Liqwid USD mainnet and integration, which is, I believe, is a stable coin, and then Plutus DeFi SDK and integration. So more tools for developers. Moving on over to their features. If you guys can't read this, I'll zoom in a bit. There's a lot of features. Basically, all of your standard DeFi features, which you may have had from other DeFi protocols, earning, making sure that this system is transparent and permissionless, as many other decentralized protocols are, rather than traditional finance, where it's kind of a middleman. The middleman is a smart contract, and you have to trust a contract, not a person, which is much better. It's more non-custodial, and you keep your keys, of course. Now, what else do they have? Crypto-backed loans, of course. Global liquidity pools. Utilizing the Liqwid protocol unlocks access to a global liquidity pool for each asset. So whether it be Cardano or another ADA access or another... So whether it be Cardano or another ADA asset, there's going to be a liquidity pool that anyone can globally add to and access for that native asset. That's pretty cool, and obviously that's kind of a given, but it's still something to highlight if you don't know what's going on here in DeFi protocol land, because you haven't experienced one prior to Liqwid Finance. Something cool you can also do is stay long in crypto, unlock liquidity, and remain long by tapping into the value of your crypto holdings to borrow stablecoins or crypto assets against said holdings, so you can hodl and earn even more on your hodled tokens. They also have a fair token launch, which I mentioned earlier. This is very important in my opinion. There's no ISO, there's no pre-sale, there's no VC funding. The only way to earn LQ tokens is by using the protocol or receiving grant funds from the DAO treasury, which will be community governed by other LQ token holders. So basically, it's fair. It's a system that's set up in a way where no one's going to get that extra half of the kind of LQ supply just because they're in early or just because they funded the project. That's not how it works. This is a fair DeFi protocol, which is very important going forward for decentralized protocols, because if it needs to stay decentralized, the more fair the token launch is, the more decentralized it's most likely going to stay. Of course, this protocol is built on Cardano, which does give it a lot more deterministic outcomes, more secure contracts, and low-cost transactions for the next evolution of DeFi innovation. Also, the Liqwid DAO, as we mentioned earlier, is going to be one of the first priorities, and the DAO token holders utilize the governance smart contract to submit proposals and exercise their voting power demographically. The LQ is Foundation Liqwid DAO governance and is staked as a reserve asset in a safety pool, generating additional yield for LQ holders. So with that mention of additional yield, I want to go over quickly the 4x yield in a quick tweet thread that I read and kind of summarize how it all works in a more simple understanding. So here we have a tweet thread from Kristen L on Twitter that kind of summed up the 4x yield in a way that I think is really easy to understand. They have recently had a Discord airdrop where a percentage of that public tokenomics, which we have yet to look into, are airdropped directly to the early Discord members. It's not a huge portion, but it is a little bit. I think it's around 1.5%. So that's something to highlight. That's what this Twitter thread is starting off with. And that's what got this person back into and interested in Liqwid Finance to kind of talk about it some more. Now, one of the most important features or most kind of attractive features for Liqwid Finance is definitely the 4x yield. I think it's a great headliner, and I think it's also just a great thing to have in a protocol that very much so benefits the users and helps provide liquidity to the protocol. So how does this work? Well, first thing is you can offer off your staked ADA, and yeah, you can borrow against it. So you can lend your staked ADA, and while your ADA is staked, you're earning passive income, and you're also earning income on the lended ADA on the protocol. Now, at first, in the first version of the Liqwid protocol, this might not be quite possible. It may work more or less that you send to the contract auto stakes and also earns you staking rewards, as well as, the LQ, or the rewards for lending out your Cardano. That may be how it works at first. Nonetheless, it's still 2x yield right there, so it is possible, and it probably still will happen. It just might not be in the exact way you're imagining it. You might actually have to send that ADA to the contract, and you might not be able to keep it in your wallet as you may wish. In return for lending out that Cardano, and while it's being staked, you are going to get what's known as QADA, essentially a token which represents the underlying asset which you are lending. In this instance, it's ADA multiplied by the amount of time you've lended out for. In this manner, you earn interest for your lended assets. Also, the way this system works is that your QADA, the rewards you're getting for lending out that ADA, rises in value relative to your initial underlying asset, but it doesn't really increase in token quantity, which is really good because the more time you hold it, the better, the more you're going to accrue. And also, it's not going to allow for a bunch of taxable events because you're not getting more QADA. The value is just fluctuating based on the underlying asset. So it's only one taxable event, which is pretty huge for a lot of people in DeFi. The only time it's a taxable event is when you decide to burn your QADA for the actual ADA, and then you can go on to earning that next set of yield. But something to note before we go into that next set of yield is that you have to remember any of this crypto you decide to lend can be withdrawn at any time, meaning your assets are in your control at all times, provided there is liquidity to exit. Yeah, and by the way, you pretty much always will have liquidity to exit because Liqwid Finance uses a market reserve which acts as a liquidity buffer, so lenders can exit at will. Getting back to that next set of yields, to get to that 4x yield, the QADA you receive when lending, well, you could stake that in order to earn LQ governance tokens whilst you're lending. So there's that third set of yield. We have the staking to get normal ADA. We have the staked data also being lended out to get QADA. Now we have that QADA being lended out to get LQ governance tokens for that third set of yield, and we'll get to the fourth in a second. But this is pretty awesome. This is not the last revenue stream. Yes, you can, of course, stake this LQ token for a constantly fluctuating percentage yield, depending on the amount of interest being repaid by borrowers on the protocol. This tweet thread also goes on to talk about the tokenomics and how 70% of the LQ tokens will be gradually released to the public, with a small proportion to the DAO and also a bunch of, proportion to the team, about 25% over the course of 2 years. So I guess now would be a good time to go over to the tokenomics on the Liqwid Finance website and kind of take a look at this in a graph form. But keep in mind, it's a fair launch. There's no ISO, there's no pre-sale, there's no VC funding. 25% is for the team, 70% is for the community distribution, so public, and then also 5% seeded to the DAO treasury contracts. So 75% are going to be handed to the community, 25% to the team, vested over a 2-year schedule. I like these token economics. I think they're fine, especially for the fact that there's no token, there's no ISO, there's no pre-sale. I think that's very important, and I don't think 25% is unreasonable. Also, it being vested over 2 years incentivizes the team to make their protocol as good as possible within those 2 years so it can self-sustain with the DAO. Now, I quickly want to go over the team. The founder, Dwayne Cameron, is a very brilliant guy, and he's done a lot in the Cardano space over the past year, as well as advising for many other projects, including SundaeSwap, Indigo Protocol, making partnerships, and overall, there's a pretty massive team behind this, ranging from people who joined from the idea catalyst, leaving comments, to people in their Discord who are just very talented developers or people who can help in this space. I think this team is really good. There's a lot of people that are helping put this protocol together, and it's not just a makeshift protocol, although that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. They are being backed by a lot of great people, great engineers, and of course they're being audited. And real quick before we go, we can take a look at the white paper, which if you want to read it yourself, I'll leave the Liqwid Finance website link down in the description. But to be honest, there's a lot of things that I've covered in this white paper in a more simple format in the video. If you want to read the more in-depth scenarios and kind of get a very good look into the protocol, then I do recommend reading this white paper, but I don't think it's entirely necessary, and I think it will be a lot more easy to read once you've interacted with the protocol and kind of tested it out for yourself. And with Ethereum, you can't do that. You'd have to pay insane gas fees unless you're using a testnet version. But on Cardano mainnet and on testnet, you're going to be able to test for pretty much no fees, which is going to make DeFi really fun. I'm going to have videos on this too, on how to use the DeFi protocols. But I do think that this being built on Cardano makes it a lot more feasible for everyone, for all the users who want to utilize DeFi and all the people who want to take interest in it in general. I think this is awesome. I'm really excited for Liqwid Finance. That's why I made the video on them. I'm excited to get that 4x yield. I'm excited to just use the protocol in general. And I'm especially excited for any kind of stablecoin liquidity pairs that are going to be coming out for Cardano in general. So I think Liqwid will be a big part of that. And I'm really excited. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys have any questions or want me to do a follow-up video, please let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one. It's been your friend Jack. Peace out.